Are you suggesting that for a whole year, what has been done is the inauguration of the project coordinator for the HYPREP office? Because what the public is saying is that both the governing council and the governing board have not been inactive in the last 1 year.
That's not true. That's not true.
Do you have a funding structure?
Why not? We have a structure in place. We have the governing council, and the governing council will meet for the 4th time at the end of this month. The last meeting we had was in February, before the minister left. So you can't say that the governing council or the board of trustees have been inactive there.
Many people are saying that the federal government isn't sincere with this UNEP implementation, because are there budgetary provisions for the UNEP report? Have the IOCs provided their counterpart funding? Is the federal government, has it provided its own counterpart funding for this UNEP report, for this UNEP implementation?
This is not the issue of budgetary provision, because that's the misconception. People who want to run down this program will always tell you that we are not serious. If we are serious, why is it not in the budget? It cannot be in the budget because it is coming from the oil companies. And if you are talking about federal government counterpart funding, if any, don't forget SPDC is a joint venture and NNPC is fully involved. NNPC is a parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, which is a federal government outfit. So through their joint venture partnership, whatever is due to be paid by the NNPC, they will have to pay according to the shareholdings. So if Shell is doling out something, NNPC will dole out something. Other companies that are involved, like Ajif, Total, they will also cop on their own share. So it is an issue of joint venture funding that will come from this. Like I said, polluter pays. And since everybody will talk about Shell, but Shell is in partnership with NNPC and other oil companies. So jointly, they will provide the funding for this. And nobody is in doubt about the 1 billion naira recommended by UNEP, accepted by the government, accepted by the oil companies. So I don't see any problem as far as this is concerned. The misconception about if the federal government is funding this thing 100% from its coffers, then it has to go through the National Assembly for the appropriation to become law before we can do anything. But this one is coming from the oil companies.
If we are to do a periodic assessment now of the UNEP implementation, it's to spread for a given 5 years. And periodic assessment now shows that for every year, the federal government must complete 20% of the task. So now, would you admit that the federal government has failed to perform in terms of periodic assessment now in the UNEP implementation?
As far as this government is concerned, there is no issue of failure. We don't even have failure in our dictionary. As far as this government is concerned. If you look at the past, you should be asking questions about what happened between 2011 to 2015 when we took over. That is where you will ask questions. Why was this report submitted in 2011? Why was the IPREP set up in 2012? And what happened between 2012 and 2015 when we took over? I have told you what we have done between June 2016 till date. It's left for you to do your investigation and find out what happened between 2012 when they set up the HYPREP, or from 2011 when the report was submitted to the federal government, and what they did after that. But for us, we have to draw a line. We took over, inherited this issue, and these are the things we have done. I've told you about the review of the Gazette. I've told you about taking it to the Federal Executive Council, getting it approved, getting it gazetted again, and producing a clean copy. I've told you we've set up the governing council, the governing structure of every aspect. The project coordinating office is up and running now, and you are free to go to Port Harcourt and verify. There is nothing to hide about it. So I do not see any failure on our own part as far as this issue is concerned. You have to wait for probably another 1 or 2 years before you can assess us and give us either the pass mark or the failure mark. And I'm sure at the end of the day, we will definitely have a pass mark.
The federal government has shown ambitious efforts in its afforestation policy with the ban of those involved in falling of trees. But that also has gross economic implication because those in the timber sector are closing shops. So what palliatives has the federal government given to these people?
The issue is that the private sector is fully involved. All those stakeholders are fully in the picture of what we're doing. We're doing this because we believe if there are no strong regulatory frameworks, then we are going to shave the country clean of forest resources. Don't forget, the forest cover in Nigeria now is less than 5%. And the standard by the FOA is 25%. And we are at 5%. This is something that is totally not acceptable without looking at what will happen as a consequence.
One is yet to come to terms why international oil companies violate environmental laws.
Why this flaring is happening is because of the regulatory framework are weak. And when they are weak, if for instance I'm supposed to clean this office and I'm told I must do it, but if I don't do it, I will pay a fine of 100 naira, and I feel that I can pay that 100 naira, I will pay and walk away. So if the regulations existing now in the country is such that it is much cheaper and more convenient for the oil companies who are doing this flaring to pay and move on. But what the Minister of Petroleum Resources is doing now is putting strong regulatory framework in place in such a way that the oil companies who are involved in this flaring will have no option than to channel the gas to a more productive venture and earn more money for the country.
Let's look at another crucial challenge in the environmental sector. That's saving the Lake Chad Basin. Recently, at the outset of this administration, the federal government, the presidency, made an international appeal fund for $14 billion to save the resilient Lake Chad Basin. What has been done since then?
I know the seriousness with which the president is looking at this issue. We have an interministerial committee which have been meeting regularly with the Minister of Water Resources, and we are addressing this issue. I can tell you confidently there is no issue of lip service here. International organizations are coming. I'm sure the Minister of Agriculture will be traveling tomorrow to Maiduguri to discuss with Food and Agriculture Organization. You are aware that the United Nations Security Council was in that region last month to assess the situation. So it has gone beyond lip service. We need to restore the means of livelihood, but make no mistake, it is an expensive business. Inter-basin transfer of water into that lake is going to cost a huge amount of money.
So you are promising Nigerians, in essence, that the renewable source of energy would be affordable to Nigerians?
I'm promising Nigerians that we are looking at these issues that will assist the common man, but the actual activity of providing the power will lie squarely on the shoulders of the Ministry of Power.
Before we wind down now, we're getting into the raining seasons now, and considering the fact that we have many flood-prone areas in the country, how prepared are we for the rainy days?
We're expecting the response of NIMET, Nigeria Meteorological Services. Normally before the beginning of every rain season, they give a prediction based on scientific findings and studies over the years. But mind you, we have to get full support from the state government through the state commissioners, and we are collaborating with them. We've opened what we call Eco Hub, where is the internet framework where we can dish out information to state commissioners of environment so that they know exactly what we are doing, and through them we can be able to disseminate information to the ordinary man at the grassroots.
Honorable Minister of Environment, Ibrahim Jibrin, thank you so much for making our time to be part of this episode of Question Time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bengal, for giving me a talk time. It's a pleasure.
And that's it on this episode of Question Time. What's your take on the Niger Delta Cleanup Initiative by the federal government of Nigeria? Send us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Join us next week on another exciting episode of the show on Channels Television. Many thanks for watching. I'm Benga Ashiru. Bye for now.